The other day, Georgia kicked off its spring practice. It kicked it off with Kirby Smart addressing the media, and Carson Beck followed that soon after. QB1 for the Georgia Bulldogs, projected Heisman frontrunner to heading into the season in 2024, ESPN's top quarterback in college football, and returning for year two as the starting quarterback for the Georgia Bulldogs. There's a big difference for Carson this year, right? And it's not just all of those expectations that have been placed on him. That is a very big difference that I don't know if anyone has really talked about, and it's not as important for this conversation. But the difference is that he's the guy now. And I think that can't be overstated how important that is. Dean and I hit on this a little bit. I don't think that we talked about it in depth enough. Kind of what that means for Carson, what that means for Bobo and this Georgia offense. Look, we can look at the quarterback history for Georgia over the last few years, and you see how the offense clicked the most in 2022 over the last few years, that year that they went 15-0. Right, I would say that that's the year that the offense clicked the most. Obviously, in 2021, when Stetson and them had it rolling, they had it rolling. But I think that they were a lot better on defense than they were on offense that year. And the difference was that Stetson knew he was the guy. They built it around him. They had that offense ready to go. Obviously, they had it ready to go whether Carson Beck or Brock Vandagriff needed to fill in for him. But it was all put in place that offseason for Stetson, and he was prepared as the number one quarterback. He wasn't competing with anyone for the job. Knew he was the guy, and that brings a certain level of confidence to a player as well. They can also elevate their play. That is what Carson Beck now gets to deal with. Last offseason in 2023, after Stetson Bennett rides off into the sunset, goes to the NFL, and leaves Georgia, right? He was 25, had to do it, right? As Kirby Smart makes that joke after they beat TCU. But this past year, it was a quarterback competition, per se. Right? I think Dawg Post was really honed in on the fact that it was probably going to be Carson Beck as the starting quarterback. And we spoke to all those quarterbacks last offseason. Outside of Gunnar Stockton, we did get to speak to Carson, Brock Vandagriff. Carson ultimately wins that job. And he goes out there and he starts for the first time in 4 years, right? Because he just spent the last 3 years of his football life on the bench and only playing in practice because he wasn't the starting quarterback for Georgia. It had been since high school. And he goes out there and, look, it was good from the jump, right? If you look at Carson Beck's game log, which I can pull up pretty quickly here, there wasn't this, really big learning curve, I don't think. It wasn't like Carson Beck came in and just wasn't a good quarterback. You could see that maybe he wasn't totally comfortable. Sometimes you can see it in the players' eyes and their demeanor. And he admitted at this point, it was less than a year ago, but he admitted towards the beginning of the season the nerves that he had to shake off and how he had to relearn football. It's different this offseason because he doesn't have to deal with that. But even then, let's say his first 6 games, right? That's a pretty big sample size. These are his first 6 starts as a college quarterback and someone who had been incubating in the chamber for a while. So maybe you should expect him to be good. But he kicks it off with 294 yards and a touchdown against UT Martin. And then in Ball State, 283 yards, 2 touchdowns. Good completion percentage. He had 76 in that second one. Even better completion percentage the next week, right? 77%, 269 yards, leads a second half comeback for Georgia. Then UAB has a really good game, 338, 3 touchdowns. Leads the second half comeback against Auburn, 313 and a touchdown. And then they explode for 50 points against Kentucky, and everyone starts really seeing Carson Beck's making NFL throws. So it took about 6 weeks from Georgia's offense to really click and have a game where they just exploded, and they had a few where they exploded just after that. And I think it could be very different for Georgia this year. I think it could be easier, and it's because of Carson being able to return and come back and not have to deal with the drama of being, am I going to be the starter? Do I have to beat out Brock Vandagriff? And there's a good quote from there about that as well. Ryan Curley from Dawg Post here. That was a very, very, it's not really an intro. Just don't like introducing myself right at the beginning all the time. But make sure you're checking out our newsletter. All right, I'm putting that link in the description down below. We'll be pumping out more content. Look, January and February can be tough, especially when there's not a national championship. So, wasn't as much content necessarily. But we got a lot more going on with spring practice. Hopefully, on a regular basis, I'll be able to get to go to practice, see that, be able to deliver you some observations both on here and on the website, dawgpost.com. But you want to be checking out dawgpost.com. The easiest way to be tapped in with what's going on is to be signed up to the Dawg Post newsletter. So thank you to those who have already done that. It's just a quick couple seconds that you got to use the description down below. It's very, very worth your while. Shout out to EcoPoly. Shout out to Red Zone. I'm just giving all the shout outs today. So Carson has that really good start to 2022. This is what he said the other day when discussing kind of why the spring feels different this year. And I think it's really important. This is a quote that we talked about the other day. I want to talk about it again because it springboards this discussion. Last year, this is what Carson said last Tuesday, so almost a week ago. Last year, I was coming in and I wasn't sure if I was going to be the starter or not. I was competing with Brock Vandegrift and Gunnar Stockton at the time, and now coming back, having been the starter, I can kind of hone in and focus more on what I need to improve and compared to just, I think this quote got jumbled up a little bit, and compared to just trying to compete against other guys. I can really focus on competing against myself. So that is different, right? So look, if you played, I mean, I'm sure all of us at some point probably, whether it was just youth or collegiate, professional, high school, I think, we've all been participating in sports or love sports, understand the way it works. A competition is stressful. It's like a consistent job interview. It can go on for a while. I had to deal with competitions in tennis and basketball in high school. And it wasn't the fun part, right? It was more like, well, there was more of a stress to it because it's like, if I don't perform, then I can't, I'm not going to be able to get to play. And I would say something similar that I'm going through right now to maybe, I think that maybe other people can relate with. But think about if you play golf or tennis, or you do anything where being mentally stable is very, very important. Being mentally calm and chill is very, very important. Right? So I'm trying to learn golf right now, and it's been very frustrating. And the days where I'm not relaxed when I'm going to hit and play, I don't hit as well, and it's not even close. If I'm rolling up to the range, I'm rolling up to the course, all chilled out, it's significantly better how much I'm hitting. If Carson Beck, now he's got this confidence. And now he's got a little bit more of a swagger to him. It doesn't seem like he has that many nerves. Yes, he's out there getting Lamborghinis, and he's out there probably getting all the girls he wants and doing whatever. And he's probably got all the confidence in the world. And that can definitely propel into his play on the field. Having good players around him is going to matter. Obviously, he does. I think he's going to have one of the best offensive lines in the country again. I think he's going to have a better running back situation to deal with this time. I think he's going to have more capable receivers than he did a year ago. Are they better? Probably not necessarily, but I think he has more of them. You don't have a safety blanket and a unicorn in Brock Bowers, so that changes. But the rest of it either stays the same or gets better, and you're the guy, right? He comes back for your 5. I truly believe that if Carson Beck went through the draft process for 2024, the NFL draft, he would have ended up possibly becoming, right, because he's 20, young, good arm, has a lot of intangibles. I think he would have ended up being at least a second-round pick, and that gets into the NFL. So he has an opportunity to win a national championship. That is something, that is a goal that he wouldn't have been able to achieve if he didn't come back. Doesn't mean he's going to, but I do think Georgia has a better chance with him in year 2. As far as that goes with him, was Georgia's opportunity better last year? It may be that way, and we won't know that yet. But this time around, having that confidence, being able to just work on his game, being able to work on his leadership and his quarterback skills, outside of just competing against someone else, I do think it makes a difference. And I think that he'll probably be more relaxed this year, and that can lead into better football play. So it's really important for the Georgia Bulldogs. Thanks for watching.